All right, my lovers and bike dorks, welcome back to the channel. I want to thank everyone for the support, the international support, letting me know where y'all are watching from. I appreciate that. Get in the likes, get in the comment section, and subscribe if you can. But if this isn't for you, then no need to do any of that. I want to talk today about the accessories that you will probably want to get if you want to start bike commuting. I think one of the hardest things about commuting on your bike is having all the gear that you need to make it easy to get out of the door and ride your bike. That being said, a lot of the times when you have all the right gear, one of the most prohibitive things about riding all the time is putting all your gear together and going out the door. It's not as easy as when you're a kid. You didn't think so much of protective gear, you just run out the door. But as an adult, if you're gonna be contending with traffic, you wanna think about these things and make sure you have them handy. Let's get it. Number one, get a helmet. Look, I'm not someone who says you need the highest quality helmet that ever was, but get a helmet. I personally think a lot of people overemphasize helmets because if you ride only on the bike paths and you're not riding as a speed demon or taking risks, you're pretty safe. But if you're riding in traffic, then you want a helmet that's decent quality. You want something that you can fall on your head. Helmets, by their certifications, usually require that you change them every 5 years, maybe even sooner, but that's definitely something that you're gonna want. The next accessory that you will want are lights. There are ones you want on the front and ones you want on the back. Now, the primary purpose of the lights are visibility, but nowadays you can get lights for a decent price that also allow you to see ahead a little bit. Back in the day, the lights that would allow you to see the road ahead of you at night were about $100 and up. Now you can get those for about 10 to 15 bucks, honestly. Look out for the lumen rating. Anything that is above like 1,000 lumens, or the rating says that, you should be able to see on the road. The beauty of Amazon is you can get them, test them. If they don't work, you can just return them and get a better light. But I got a set that was like $10 that came with a front and back light. That's perfectly fine. It replaced the $100 light that I got 15 years earlier, and I would argue is just as good. Another benefit of some of the modern technologies is that we used to use batteries in the lights when I first started riding, but now these lights are all come with pretty much USB charging, and that's what I would recommend, is get something that you can charge. And especially for your tail light, I would say because of the price now, they're pretty relatively inexpensive. Make sure you have 2 of them, just so if you are out at night and you run out of batteries, you can put the spare one on. With the front one, you tend to know at the price that they're selling them for, it's not a bad idea to also get 2 of them, 2 sets of lights, just in case you run out of one and it's nighttime and you need to change. You don't want to go without. So that's going to be another great purchase that you might not think of ahead. Another one that may seem obvious, but when I was younger, I didn't really think of it, but because I wasn't commuting with my bike. But once you start commuting and you're actually leaving your bike places, is a bike lock. Now, U-lock, kryptonite, or A-bus, heavy-duty chain lock to deter theft. Now, I say deter theft. If someone really wants your bike, there are tools that can break through many styles of locks that you get. So you don't necessarily need to spend tons of money on a lock, but one that'll make it so that it's a deterrent. And then you also want to factor that into parking in safe places. If it's at work, you can check before you ride to work, where is a good place where I can leave my bike for an extended period of time that will not get stolen, or at least have someone attempt to steal it. So keep that in mind. I think if you're spending around $20 and up, you should get a decent lock that will at least deter thieves. Again, deter them. If someone really, really wants your bike and is super determined, you can use tools to get through bike locks, but it's all about just securing your bike in a safe space as well as having a nice lock. The next accessory that I think you will want to get for your bike, that I tend to put on all my commuter bikes, is a bike rack. Something that you can attach panniers or bike bags to, or even use with a bungee cord to bungee cord things to your bike rack. I think this is an essential part of your gear, especially as I personally do not like wearing backpacks when I ride bikes. I basically hate having anything on my back or in my pockets. When I used to carry things in my pockets on bikes, I've lost many a cell phone back in the day because I would put it in my pocket. Bad idea. Use a bike bag or a pannier. If you're someone who doesn't mind a backpack, then maybe it's not so necessary to have the rack. But I think the panniers, which are the bike bags that have hooks on them that are specifically made to hook up to a bike rack, are something that you want to look into. So this is like two things, because the panniers, you can't really hook them up to your bike unless you have the rack, so they come together. Another thing, depending on your climate, specifically for people who live in the Pacific Northwest like me, or if you ride with seasons, is having those fenders on your bike, or in England they would call them mudguards. Those just keep the rain off your gear. Some of them are made to go all the way around your wheel. Some of them are just made enough to keep the mud and the rainwater off you. Now, my bikes, I just keep them on all year round. If I put on a set of fenders, I just keep them on because they're not necessarily the easiest thing to take on and off. You can do it, but I just keep them on all year round. And so whatever it's on, it's on. Luckily, I have a couple bikes, so I have bikes that have no fenders on them, because I just, obviously you're gonna save a little weight if you don't have those, but if you're commuting, you're not really gonna be a weight weenie. So I think those are really an essential thing to have, especially if you're riding in all seasons. If you're riding in like Arizona, Southern California, maybe it's not as big. Now, a great thing to have for your cycling if you're commuting is a repair kit and pump. Now, as part of your repair kit, you'll want a spare tube, tire levers, a multi-tool, and a mini pump or a CO2 inflator for roadside fixes. Now, keep in mind, if you ride wide tires and your tires are replaced regularly, then your tubes are pretty well protected. Or if you ride with tubeless setup, then you're usually gonna be in a good situation, but still, carrying a spare tube if you're gonna be riding every day is not a bad idea. Sometimes you just don't change your tire quick enough when you should have, or you can get a pinch flat. And so, a repair kit or something, and especially just having a multi-tool in general is a great idea. Another accessory that I think is really good is having a bell or some sort of horn on your bike to let people know when you're coming. Something unobtrusive, something that's just a light little ding to let people know you're coming behind them. And so you can keep pedestrians safe, you can keep other cyclists safe, and just letting them know, hey, I'm coming behind you. This isn't something where you're like, get out of my way, but it's just more like, hey, there's someone behind you and I'm probably gonna be passing you. Get a water holder and a water bottle that can fit. I can't overemphasize this. For some reason, I rode for like 10, almost 15 years without having water system on my bike. And I don't know how I did it now that I have it. Now that I have water on my bike, it's such a game changer. I won't even ride without it, or I'll get really nervous if I don't have it now. But having water on your bike is really good. I'm a big time sweater. A lot of water comes out of me. You gotta replenish that. On hot days, you gotta stay cool. Being hydrated will keep you cooler than if you got no water in your system. So please get a water bottle holder and a water bottle for your bike. My Poseidon X holds 2 of them. Some bikes have enough screws for 2, some have enough for 1. If you have a touring or a commuting bike, you'll usually have multiple slots for that. So keep that in mind. Water bottle cage and a water bottle. Now, the next accessories I'm gonna kind of lump together because I wouldn't say that they're essential, but there's something that in time you want to consider getting for your bike. Obviously, these things are going to add expenses, so you have to prioritize things. Like, I feel like helmets are really non-negotiable, but let me talk about the next few things that you might want to get. Reflective gear, high-vis clothing. If you have a bike jacket that is fluorescent and lights up and can be, look shiny when cars shine their lights on it, I think that is a great idea. I think with bicycles, you want to wear the brightest, most outlandish colors. To me personally, pinks and fluorescent greens and yellows, so that you can be visible on the road. I think the more ridiculous you look without being over the top. I mean, I think it's not even bad to be over the top, because the main thing about riding and safety is you want to be seen. You assume that cars cannot see you. So the louder and more garish your clothing is, I think it is the better. Now, another thing is you could have a mirror on your bike. I do have a mirror on my bike. It's weird, I don't use it a ton, but I think having it there for safety, some people are better at it than others. I have it on my bike as an option, but I don't always use it that much. So, be aware of your surroundings, but a mirror can also help, with your rear view. A bike computer. Now, I'm a big proponent of bike computers. I think in the last 10, 15 years, they've improved so much, where I used to have to stick something on my wheel to have a magnetic charge to sync up with it. Now you can just put something on your bike and it just knows your speed, it tells you the topography. But most importantly, the most important thing for me about a bike computer is it tells you the time of day and how long you've been riding for. Because what I think you should do before you commute to work is take those days off before you start commuting to ride to work and back, or just ride to work, because you're gonna find a route that you like. Usually there'll be alternate routes to work too. Get to work, see how long it takes you, because that's going to tell you how much time you have to get ready in the morning. So a bike computer can really help with that. It tells you how far work is, it'll tell you the distance you've ridden, it'll tell you how long you got there, it'll tell you the time you started. And a lot of the times they'll sync up with apps so that you can look on the app and it kind of gives you a nice layout of what has been happening on your ride. And that really helps you with your planning. Now, if you don't use a bike computer you don't really need one with GPS, because you probably should know where you're going. But, a phone mount is something that you might want to consider on your bike. That is going to give you navigation for when you're going into the unknown. Like I said, you should probably ride to your destinations if you're going to be commuting regularly to a place before you go there. Maybe drive a day or two, or just actually physically ride there on your day off. And that'll be something that you might want to consider, is putting a phone mount on your bike. Gloves. Now, gloves, I will not ride without gloves. And this, part of having gloves is for warmth. Touching those handlebars in the winter, you don't necessarily, it can be a little bit cold. But I really do it for hand protection. It just keeps my hands protected. If you do get into a crash, any scrapes that you might get through your hands will be a little bit protected with the gloves. So I really advocate for wearing gloves when people are riding. I won't ride my bike without my gloves, or I'll feel really uncomfortable. In the summer, I have the cutoff gloves. In the winter, I'll have the full-on gloves. But again, most cycling gloves aren't really going to keep your hands that much warmer. They're more for hand protection. Anyway, those are the things that I would get for my bicycle. I am an advocate of wearing hard-soled shoes. So commuting, if you have boots, or if it's the summer and you have sandals with a firm sole, because the power transfer is going to be better if you have something with firm soles. I don't necessarily recommend a clip-in system for commuting. So boots and flat pedals, I think, are the way to go. But try to avoid tennis shoes or flimsy shoes. You want something with a hard sole for the power transfer. And also, if you're riding regularly, I didn't realize this until I started riding, but cycling will tear your shoes apart. So you really want something that has a firmness to it, because what happens is that pedal motion will just push your toe forward and you will end up popping out the front. Your front toe will end up wearing out and popping out the front of the shoe if you wear sneakers. So if you have nice sneakers, I know some people like their, things like Jordans or like nice fancy tennis shoes or something. I would never ride regularly in those. I probably actually never recommend riding with those at all, because they're really not good for your shoes. You need something that can withstand the abuse of cycling, and that constant pressure you're putting towards the front of your shoe and your pedal motion has a real way of tearing shoes up. So probably some hard-soled shoes. Think about that after time. And then, happy riding. That's the hardest thing about getting out the door, is making sure you have everything you need. And goodness knows, I've forgotten things when I've gone out. It's like that there's, I can think of a meme in my head where you go out the door, then you come back in the house, and you go out the door and you come back in the house because you think you have everything, and then you get on your bike, you're like, oh, I forgot one more piece of equipment. So it's a lot of equipment to take with you. But once you get into a rhythm and once you kind of get used to it, you will be just fine. Here and there, you're going to forget something, but no big deal. Get in the comment section. What do you think is something that is a really accessory that you can't do without, or something that I didn't mention, or if you just want to bolster the point of something that I already said, much appreciated.